Warning: the following podcast show that you're about to listen to will include explicit language and content in which you, the members of the audience, may find offensive. Audience discretion is advised.
Welcome to another episode of the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience.
Yeah, boy.
Where anything and everything is a subject matter on the show, and no subject matter is ever taboo.
Damn, that's what's up, my G.
And now, your host with the most, Mr. Kim Hoang. Bro, am I getting paid for this?
Yo, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? How the heck are you? This is your boy, Kim Hoang, the Asian sensation, rocking out another episode that is of the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. And I'm actually not in the Asian Sensation Studios. I'm not in our beta room. I'm actually outdoors today, out and about, getting some exercise, actually. I'm actually walking around a track and field of a local school here in the Washington DC Metropolitan Area. I just kind of felt like it was a beautiful day. It's warm, it's nice, it's not humid. So I wanted to go ahead and walk the track for a little while. And at the same time, I was like, you know what? I already have like a lot of ideas and a lot of things that I want to say for a podcast episode that I just had to go ahead and do it. So here we are. Now, I have to tell you, this is not the first time that I've actually done a podcast while I was walking around and so forth, because a couple of episodes back, I actually did make an episode. I was walking around in my old hometown of Annapolis, Maryland. I was in the downtown area, and you definitely heard me just, walking around. You heard my microphone just kind of like rubbing against my beard, which I do apologize. That was kind of embarrassing. But yeah, this isn't the first time that I'm making an episode in this type of manner. So it's all good. And, by that, our great assistant, Hector, he's not even here. He doesn't even know that I'm making an episode. So it's all good, Is he getting paid for it? Not really, but, we do appreciate the fact that he is, always here helping us out, making sure that the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience is, running well and is operating at the greatest levels that it can be, to make sure that it's like on point. And that's the one thing I will say about Hector. I appreciate him for his hard work and his dedication, and just the fact that he's willing to help me out, whatever the situation is, whatever I need. Hector's always there, and he's so tech savvy, and he knows a lot of things here or there. So I feel like it's good to have him on the team. He's a great asset to the podcast, and we just love him. We just really, really love him. So other than that, it's all good in the hood, as I'm just once again walking around this track and field, trying to get, some exercise and trying to, better improve my health. I feel like now these days, the more exercise that you get, the better that your body's going to be, and the better that, your body's going to be operating at a very good level. And just simple things like, you don't have to be like a runner. You know what I mean? A lot of people have this misconception of, I got to work out and I have to run and I have to do all this stuff. I feel like as long as you keep your body moving, you're keeping your body in good maintenance and good order, because when you move around, the blood is moving around, it's flowing. And as long as you have the blood flowing in the body, doing whatever it is that you need to do, then you're doing a good job. And for somebody like me, I feel like the best type of cardio that I can get is just basically walking around, just walking the track and field, doing maybe at least a mile, maybe go for 2 miles, whatever it takes, you know what I mean? So I'm very happy about that. It's a good sign, and we're ready to do this. I mean, I never really thought about making an episode of my podcast while I'm doing physical work and physical exercise, but hell, it is what it is. I'm liking it, and it's pretty dope, man. It's pretty dope. So anyways, let's go ahead and get this episode cracking. Lots to talk about today, some great subjects and interesting subjects, and even subjects that you never thought that, I would even talk about. But yeah, it's for real. It's for real. The first thing that comes into my mind, is a lot of people have been asking me a lot about, the world of the promo world, when it comes to working the promo industry and the marketing industry. And a lot of people are wondering a lot about, what to do, how to do it, how to get qualified for it, how much money you make working these promo events and so forth. And that's a real good question. That's a real good question. I think that's a question that does bear to be acknowledged, if you will. But I'm going to explain it in bits and pieces, and, I might go way around the map and around the grid, but it will make sense. So I just want to let you know that. Real quick, I had started working in the promo industry around 2003, I think, maybe 2004. And I was working for a promo company called GMR Marketing. And at the time when I first got into it, I was working for a tobacco company where we would go to all these clubs and we would talk to people that engage in, tobacco products, such as either, smoking tobacco or, chewing tobacco and so forth. And if they actively did that, then we would be able to engage with them and, try to let them know that, we have an offer here in this particular venue. And if you actually sign up with us, we can actually go ahead and give you a great offer. We'll also give you a swag prize, and you can be on your way. Now, initially, I was a little bit on the fence about it because my friend got me involved. And when she told me that, and she told me at the time, she was like, yeah, I get paid $25 an hour to do it. I felt really weird about that because in my mind, I was like, there is no way in the world that somebody can actually go ahead, work this type of job, part-time, little hours, maybe 4 hours or 5, and get paid $25 an hour per. That was literally impossible. But she kept on selling it to me, and she said, yeah, you should really do it because it's really cool. I do it. If you work this job, you'll make great money, extra money on the side. Plus, we'll be able to hang out because, we're friends and it'll just be a good time. So let's just, why don't you just think about it? But I think that, your answer is probably already going to be yes because you're money driven. Well, she wasn't lying on that respect. I definitely feel like if I work a job and the money is very, very generous, where especially if you're asking me to work for you and offering $25 an hour, oh, you better believe that that's amazing, and it's an offer that I would not refuse because after all, it's really hard now these days to actually get a job, let alone the fact that you're going to be getting a job that pays $25 an hour. I mean, $25 an hour, I'm sorry. I mean, that's definitely way above the national average of what, people get on an everyday basis, on an hourly basis, because I think that the minimal standard of what you get paid per hour, I think the national average now these days is supposed to be like $17 or $18 an hour, I think, unless I'm misinformed. Don't give me don't really quote me on that. But yeah, that was my that was kind of like my foot in the door, my excuse me, like my one opportunity where I got my foot in the door. Later on, I continued on with that promotion, and I heard later on through social media, I think I heard from Facebook and stuff like that, that there are other opportunities for promotional jobs, and I started working them, and it was great. I worked anything from beverages, those type of promotions where you give away a free beverage. Case in point, I've worked for Coca-Cola and Pepsi-Cola. And every time that, I engage with somebody, I would give them a free can of Coca-Cola or Pepsi-Cola just because, they actually walked by and they said, hey, may I go ahead and have one? And I would say, yeah, here you go. I mean, we have a whole bunch. I've also worked, with technology like for AT&T and Verizon, promoting for their, cellular phone services. I've also worked a lot of sporting events for like Gatorade, Nike, and Under Armour. Those were fun. And of course, how can I forget like something like working for Nintendo, working for PlayStation and Xbox. All of those opportunities were really good, and all of them really benefited because, for a short amount of time, you basically get paid pretty well, per hour. Now these days, I think the going rate for a promo job is at like maybe at least $20 an hour. It should be more, I think, for a brand ambassador. But yeah, for $20 an hour, once again, that's a good deal. That's a real good deal. That is actually more than what many people make per hour. So when I hear something like that and somebody is offering that to me, I definitely have to consider it because it's probably going to make me a lot more money during that time than the usual day job. That's a fact. That is a fact. I would say that, in order to be in the promo industry, you really have to keep your eyes peeled and you really have to keep on knowing what's going on and, what's happening and what's relevant out there and what's going on currently with certain promotion companies and certain promotions that are out here. I also believe that if you're trying to take it to the next step, then it's a normal choice for brand ambassadors to try to go for the big one. And what I mean by the big one is trying to go and work a tour. And I'm telling you, working a tour, being a tour manager is the greatest thing that you'll ever do. Because every week, whatever that you make on a regular day job for every 2 weeks, you'll easily make it in one. I have had a great opportunity of working promo tours, marketing tours as a tour manager where I would have made I would have made about $1,400 a week, maybe even $1,500, which is absurd. Again, for a regular person, that's a 2-week check. For promo tour managers, that's a 1-week check. Now think about that. Every 2 weeks, potentially, you could get paid $3,000. It's amazing. It is absolutely amazing. And also with the fact that if you work as a tour manager for a major promotional tour, you travel all around the United States of America, going to the major cities of the U.S. like Los Angeles, Denver, Colorado, San Francisco, California, Houston, Texas, Dallas, Texas, St. Paul / Minneapolis, Minnesota, Detroit, Michigan, Washington, DC, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, New York City, New York, Atlanta, Georgia, Miami, Florida, just places like that. And I'm just only giving you, a little specter of the taste of like certain cities that these places go to. They go all over. Chicago, Illinois. If it's a big city in the United States of America, guess what? Most likely it's hitting it. It is hitting it. And I felt really blessed to have worked these promo tours. These promo tours as like as a manager, a promo tour manager, the marketing manager, the tour manager. And I tell you, although it is a high reward, it is hard work. Brand ambassadors, which I always think of like associates over in a retail store, they have responsibility, but not as much as the tour manager. The tour manager does a lot more than the brand ambassador does. They have to go over to the venue the day or two before the actual event. They have to go ahead and set up things and make sure that everything is set up according to plan. Like if you have like tents, you got to set the tent up. If you have like a certain stage that you actually carry with you by just hauling it with the truck, then you got to set the stage up. You have to make sure that everything is going according to plan. You have to meet up with the venue manager or the venue contact, and then you have to just make sure that everything is working and is all set up in perfect order. Because if there's one thing that's missing, one thing that isn't on cue, then that's going to be a huge problem. And what would be, let's say, 4 hours to set up will turn out to result in an 8-hour setup or even longer. Has that happened before? Yes, it has. I've had situations where we thought that it would be a 4-hour setup, took about 10 hours. Sometimes it was a technical issue and certain things like, there was a miscommunication between the venue contact and the tour manager. There could have been things where it would have been like, hey, because weather inclement and it's raining really bad, you can't set up here because it's a dangerous liability. So we can't really allow you to do that. Or just other things that, just seem to malfunction, that it does happen, Those are things behind the scenes that many people don't know about. But, if you get lucky enough to work in a promo job, and let alone of a promo tour, please understand that you're going to be given, number one, a great opportunity, and two, a huge reward. Now, what's the secret sauce about actually doing well in these type of things, of working a promotional job, like a promo job, or a promo tour and being a tour manager? Well, that's the thing. It's no different than what you normally do with a regular job. You just got to come into work every day. You do have to go ahead and have a real good attitude, and you really have to go ahead and smile. You have to really understand that when you're there, you have a job to do, and you have to complete the mission. It's no different at all. Now, there are some good sides to it and some bad sides to it. Now, like I said again, I'm going to rewind. The good sides are, when you work for something of a promo job, and let's say you're promoting for Pepsi Cola, or you're promoting for McDonald's, or you're promoting like something in the automotive industry like Mitsubishi or Hyundai or something like that. Once you actually do the job and you complete it, you can actually put that on your working resume and say that you did this, that you represented this big company, and it's amazing, and it really does open some doors. Number two, like I said, the pay is amazing. For brand ambassadors, you probably make about like $18 or $19 an hour, still pretty good per hour. I don't know a job that, you can just walk out from the street and say, I want to work this, and get that $18 or $19 an hour. That's pretty good. And plus, you get to have a little bit of some fun. And if there is any swag that's left over, this is just a little bit of a secret, but I guess the secret's out of the bag. You can actually take some stuff home with you. Like, if there was like a real cool, like a Pepsi Cola bag or something like that, you can take that home with you. That's cool, but only take one. Don't take home 100. You know what I mean? Or, if there's like a cool yoga mat that has like, Samsung on it, and nobody's claimed it, yeah, you can go ahead and claim that. It's cool. The thing about working on a promo tour or a promo job, like the drawbacks are that the schedule is really rough. It's not like a set schedule. It's one of those things where like it can happen at any time. I've worked schedules where it was like a Monday through Friday because that was the length of the event. I have worked 14 days straight sometimes as a brand ambassador because it was a 14-day job, and they needed people to be there every single day throughout all the hours of the day. You know what I mean? For people that actually do tour management, it is hard because you basically travel away from home, and you basically kind of work, I would say 12-hour days, maybe even more. You know, there's no time for rest except for maybe one day out of the week. And sometimes that's not even enough. So I would say this, and I say this with caution, and I say this with a lot of, love and concern for a lot of people. If you decide to work in the promo industry, and especially like if you're trying to make your way into tour management of that traveling, promo tour, know that it is cool, but life as you know it is pretty much now dedicated to that. I mean, you won't have any free time to hang out with your friends. You won't have any free time to do the things that you want to do. Like, let's say, for example, if you're in a band and you want to do a show here and a show there. Nope, you won't be able to do that, because now all of your concentration and focus is on the job, on the promo job, working as either as a brand ambassador or as, a tour manager. At that point, you really have to think, and you have to ask yourself, is it really worth it? Do I really want to do this? Do I have the time to do this? Is this job for me? And I have to advise, if it's not, then it may not be for you. It really may not be for you. I've always said this out of respect that, working promo jobs and being a tour manager, it takes a special type of person to do that. You have to be cut from a real strong cloth to do that. And that comes from being a dedicated workhorse. You would have to have a strong work ethic like no other, and have an understanding that the job is the mission right now. That's the most important thing. And if it's something that you can't handle, I would just advise strongly, don't do it. Don't do it. I've known a couple of people that have done their best to really manage, and the results were not really pleasant. But that's okay. That just means that they got the message that, unfortunately, that type of job field, that type of job environment wasn't for them. It wasn't for them. And, they now discovered the truth. And it's okay. It's okay. So I hope that this gives a little bit of a lesson here about, what it's like in, the promo world and the promo touring, world, being either a brand ambassador or being a tour manager. I've enjoyed my time doing it. And I will say it like this, presently at the moment, if somebody really asked me to do it, especially like a tour management position, and the offer was really good, I would have no problems in saying yes. Excuse me. Maybe because I've done it before and I know what's involved, and I know that the reward at the end is amazing, and I know that, to have an opportunity to work, that type of a situation, traveling all over the United States of America, throughout all the major cities of the U.S., staying in hotels. And, the best part of that is just that, it's a per diem. So the company actually pays for it, as well as like your meals. You're pretty much set. So, I definitely, again, I will go on record. If you give me an offer and you say, hey, we want to pay you, and we will pay you very well, $3,000, at least every 2 weeks to do this, I would be like, dude, I'm sold. Yeah. How long is the commitment? Oh, you have to do this for 6 months. Oh, shoot. All right. Yeah. That's cool. I'm down. Let me do it. I got nothing going on. Let's go for it. Oh my goodness. But we're going to go ahead and take 5. We're going to go ahead and, take a little bit of a break, a little bit of a breather. When we come back, we will talk about something really cool that is near and dear to my heart. That's a part of my past that has recently come out to surface into the light of the present day. You don't want to miss it. So stay tuned, because the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience is here. It's on fire, and we're cooking, baby. We'll see you in a bit. When people ask me what's the best tool that you have for podcasting, I tell them Spotify for podcasters. Yes, you heard right. Spotify has now created an avenue for podcasters to do their thing. So whether if you need to upload your already made episode or need to create one using their platform on their website or their app, they got you. Also, now you can upload and or create video podcasts episodes with Spotify for podcasters. How cool is that? And the best part is, this service is absolutely 100% free. That's right. No need to give them any credit card information. Therefore, you don't have to pay any costs or monthly fees. How awesome is that? So, for more information, go to podcasters.spotify.com or go ahead and download the app on your smartphone or smart tablet device for free by either going to the Apple App Store or Google Play Store. Spotify for podcasters.
And now, back to the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience with your host, Kim Hoang.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. I just had to take a little bit of a break because of the fact that after walking 1.5 miles, which is about 6 laps around this track and field, I felt pretty good, but I needed to take some time to kind of relax and recuperate. If there's one thing that I learned, and it's one thing that I'm a big supporter of, is that if you're working out and something feels a little bit weird or something feels like, you're overexerting yourself, take time to, relax and pause. It's okay. It's not like, you're trying to impress anybody. You're just actually doing these exercises for the enrichment of yourself and to better yourself, health-wise as a whole. So example, let's say if you're lifting 135 pounds on the bench press and you can only lift it about 2 times or 3 times and you can't do a set of 12, that's okay. Just after that third one, if you feel like you need to tap out, put the bar back on the rack and that's it. Don't worry about it. I think the best thing that you can do is just to listen to your body and cooperate with it rather than forcing it to do something that it can't do right away, and therefore risking injury. You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that at all. So, for me, I just needed to get a little bit of a break. I needed to go ahead and sit down for about 15 or 20 minutes, and we're back at it again, and it's awesome. I want to go back a little bit to the last segment before we proceed to the new segment. And there were 2 things that I forgot to mention about cons that are very important for people to know. Con number 1, added on to the list of cons that we've already talked about, is that when you work a promo job in the promo industry, whether if you are a brand ambassador or if you are a tour manager, please understand that the job is only temporary. You are what you are called an independent contractor. So the job is not, it's not really permanent. Not at all. There's no permanency in the world of promos and promo jobs and tours. I've worked many a jobs where, I was lucky enough that, for a length amount of time, I've worked as long as a month and a half, and that was great. And that was awesome. I've worked events where it only lasted about 3 days. So that tells you right then and there that, there is no permanent position in the touring world of, working a promo job and working the promo marketing field. It's sad, but, it's the truth. If you're looking for something a little bit more permanent, obviously if you're working in the promo world and you want to try to go up a little bit more, you could try to work over at the corporate office where you're kind of guaranteed that you'll have a more of a permanent position. Or, if it's just not what you really want and you're hoping for something else, find a permanent full-time job anywhere else, so that's just the thing right there. The length of the job, it's not permanent. It's only temporary. Also, point number 2, knowing this, you don't get any benefits, unfortunately. When you're working these type of positions, again, you are an independent. So, you're not working full time. In this case, working full time, if you're a promo tour manager, even though that you're working a lot of hours, you still don't get paid or you still don't get offered full-time benefits. And that is sad. Once again, it's one of those things where, like, if you are working for the promo company, at their corporate office and you're working there full time, yes, you'll definitely get your benefits package there for sure. Or, if worse comes to worse, go over, once again, like I said before, apply for a full-time job anywhere else where they possibly may have a benefits package. That being said, I hope that, that shows you guys, the ins and outs and maybe a little bit of the inside track of working in the promo industry. And I think later on I will make an episode talking about the do's and the don'ts of working in a promo job as a brand ambassador or as a tour manager, because there's definitely a lot of do's and there's a lot of don'ts. And I think there's a lot of misconceptions on what people do that they think they are allowed to do, but you know what? It just doesn't fly. So there you go, guys. Jumping into the next subject matter, this news has hit like wildfire, and it is something that is kind of near and dear to my heart. It has to do with an old radio station based out of the Washington DC, Maryland, and Virginia area that was known as HFS, or, before it was called WHFS, but then later on it was turned to HFS. 99.1 FM WHFS. And according to the news online through a very reputable concert venue in Washington, D.C. called the 930 Club, they had actually dropped the news on Facebook recently that the HF Festival was going to be making its return, and that the event was going to happen on Saturday, September the 21st, over at the Washington Nationals Baseball Stadium in Washington, D.C. And later on, we had news from Fox 5 DC, the news station, television station, and we had NBC 4, the TV station from DC, from them. Both of them confirming that this was going to happen. Now, here are my opinions about this. I have some bad reservations, but I also have some good reservations. The bad, I'm going to go ahead and attack first. Number one, even though this has been mentioned by, reliable sources, we don't know for sure if it's actually guaranteed. I mean, they say that it was going to happen, that they picked a date, they picked a venue, and so forth. But is that really going to happen? Or are we just, kind of waiting in the wings for nothing to actually, manifest? Number two, if the HF Festival is going to happen, who's actually going to be playing it? We don't know. I mean, this is an event where a lot of famous bands, big name bands, have performed this concert event. And you name it, they've done it. Anybody from the Red Hot Chili Peppers to Incubus. I remember that the Goo Goo Dolls played there, Coldplay played there, Good Charlotte had played there, Third Eye Blind played there. I believe that Matchbox 20 did too. I think that they did. And other great bands like Bush, No Doubt, a lot of bands like Offspring, you name it, they probably did it. Green Day, Blink-182. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. If it was alternative rock, I mean, man, they were there and they were performing. So we don't know what bands are going to be playing. Number 3, we don't know when the tickets are going to sell, and let alone how much they're going to go for. I mean, ticket prices now these days are astronomically high. When I used to go over to the HF Festival, it was like maybe $40 or $50. And it was general admission. So you could have went anywhere. You could have just sat there on the stadium seats and that would have been fine. You could have been right there in the middle of the mosh pit and that would have been okay. Right there on the front of the stage. That would have been cool. To me, I felt like, yeah, that is an awesome situation for sure. You know, to be there and to have all these access to all the areas in the concert venue and in the concert. But, I mean, it doesn't do us any good if we don't know what the price point is. If it's like $100 or more, I'm probably not going to spend that much money for a concert venue. I'd rather just go ahead and try to win the tickets somehow. Or, you know, I may not even go at all. That's just the thing. Now these days to people, price for a music event and so forth, it is important. It really is. So I just want to go ahead and reiterate that and make sure that people understand that those are a lot of things that are happening. Another thing that I forgot to mention that I think is important to mention that's a con is that because the HF Festival is happening, is the radio station that we knew in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, WHFS or HFS, going to be back on the airwaves? Because I remember the day that it happened. One song played and it was over. Then all of a sudden the format changed to where it was a Spanish radio station called 99.1 FM El Sol. At that moment, that really changed the demographics forever. And that happened in the early 2000s. That was during the time where like the internet was not really there. It certainly wasn't powerful like how we have it right now. And, you know, everybody didn't have a smartphone, so we couldn't text everybody. We couldn't pass on the word. We didn't get any texts and alerts about what happened. It just happened. So those are the cons of the situation about, you know, what's going on with the HF Festival and, you know, whether or not if it's going to happen or not. The good thing about it is, and there are some pros, I mean, for us people, number one, that grew up in the Generation X era, this is a great time because, you know, it gave us something back in the day every year during the summer to look forward to, because it was like, for some of us that were in school and we just got out of school, whether if we were in middle school or high school, whatever, every summer, you know, the HF Festival was happening and it was going to happen over at RFK Stadium. And that was kind of like our greeting, our hello to say, hey, what's up, summer? We're finally here and we're doing it. And we can actually go to this concert event and not have to worry about it because, you know, it's the summer. So we're not worried about a school day or anything. It's going to be great. When you went over there, also, number two, when you heard about like the musical acts, they were great musical acts. And I've mentioned a couple already, you know, but let me give you an example. HF Festival was known to have a lot of alternative rock bands play. But how many events, music events of that type of magnitude would have like a rap band like Cypress Hill, or like a rapper like Eminem or Jay-Z, or even like the sounds of the classic man himself, Tony Bennett, come over and actually perform? That was pretty wild. And that was pretty cool. I was actually there to witness all of that. and it was fun, and I definitely enjoyed myself and I had a good time. Number 3, I think the most important thing was that the HF Festival was just a festival, a music event where everybody who loved alternative rock or just loved music all came out to hang out and have fun. You know, that was the really cool thing, the most important thing. We would all just hang out, sing all the songs together that the bands are playing. Sometimes we would go out of the, the stadium and attend outdoor, stages where like local bands would play. Or we would go to like all these tents where they would have like cool like games and cool events happening. And it was a fun time. It was a real fun time. I mean, there was never an HF festival in my memory that I felt was a letdown. The only time that it was a letdown for me where I felt like, oh, damn, this is not cool, is when there was no HF festival. And that happened for a long time. The last time that we had an HF festival, I believe it was 2011. We're now at 2024. So now it's been about, if my mathematics is correct, let me see, 2021, that's 10, 22, 23. It's been 13 years since we had an HF festival. The last HF festival was over at the Merriweather Post Pavilion over in Columbia, Maryland, which is not that far from Baltimore, Maryland. And although that one wasn't as big and it didn't have like a star-studded, music cast like, its predecessors, it was still a cool event to go to, and I had a blast. I'm hoping, for the sake of the situation that has been presented to us, that this situation will be real, that, there will be an HF festival. And I hope that if there is an HF festival, that, the band lineup is going to be a very huge one. I think that this is a music concert event that has a lot of great history. And I think that, for us, being in the DMV and for us being music fans, I think we are owed, a real good concert event that would have a great lineup that's going to be, better than, Vans Warped Tour or, anything of that sort. Lollapalooza, you name it. I'm hoping that it will happen, and I'm hoping that whatever bands are named to actually perform the HF Festival, that they're going to bring it. And I also hope, honestly, that HFS will be back on the airwaves, because you cannot have an HF festival without HFS on the airwaves, because HFS was responsible in creating this great event, an annual event. And to not have HFS be on the airwaves to officially announce it and to promote it would be criminal. You couldn't have another radio station locally here like 98 Rock in Baltimore or DC 101 in Washington DC and cross promote the HF festival, because that would not make any sense. DC 101 has already got like a concert event, which I think is now from this day it's defunct. I don't know if it's still in operation, but they used to have a thing called the DC 101 Chili Cook-Off, and they already had that event. I don't know if 98 Rock ever had a concert event of their own, like 98 Rocks, blah, 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 blah. But I will say that it's important to have the radio station be on the air to promote its own radio station concert event. Now, that's just only my opinion. I mean, I know a lot of people have their own opinions, and, they would probably think that I'm wrong, and that's fine. But, speaking as a person, a podcaster, and just a regular average Joe, I'm only giving you my opinions. So that's all I have to say. I'm just hoping, honestly, that, once again, that we will have an HF festival this year, that it will be at the Washington Nationals baseball stadium in Washington, D.C., and that it will be there on Saturday, September the 21st. Also, I hope that the cost of the tickets are going to be, number one, general admission, and number two, I hope that it's going to be cheap. Not to say that I'm a stickler or anything, but again, if I can just repeat what I said earlier, money now these days are a little bit tight. And, when you raise the prices of everything from, food to beverages and to services and everything like that, sporting events and now concert events, it's getting really out of line. And I just hope that, we're able to kind of fix that problem. So if HFSTival is going to happen, guys, let it happen and let it ring. Let my youth jump back into my body and let me enjoy the experience and have a good time. I already know that there are people that I know personally that have mentioned that they would go. And, definitely would like to be a part of that history. But, if the price is right and the lineup is right for the music lineup, I think we can conduct some business. At least that's, my 2 cents. So let me go ahead and get out of here real quick. We're going to take another break. We're going to come right back. We're going to do a little bit of a Q&A forum. I'm really excited about that. Don't go anywhere, guys, because the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience will be coming back, and we'll be right back after this word. What do you get when you have 2 undercover police detectives that are underestimated who utilize their wit, charm, and skills to outsmart the biggest arms dealer and all of his puppets in the region? Then you get the highly anticipated action comedy film of the century, Miscalculated. That's right, starring Ramel Xavier Morales, Dameron Kirby, and an all-star cast. Now streaming on Tubi, Discovered, and Reveal. That's Reveel. And now available for purchase on Amazon Prime Video. You heard that right. Now available for purchase on Amazon Prime Video. Miscalculated.
And now, back to the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience with your host, Kim Hoang.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. And this is the moment that you've all been waiting for. My favorite segment, which is the Q&A forum, the question and answer. I love doing these things because it's one of those things where, I just ask the question and I try to answer it the best way that I can. And, the good thing about this is that, you guys give great questions. And you've always respected the fact that you have not given me, by request, you have not given me questions about religion and or politics, because you know my feelings about that. I think it's a bad recipe for disaster. So I'm excited to do this. I actually have the questions with me, and I'm actually going to be reading it out. So here we go, in no way, shape, or form. Q&A is about to start. Question number 1 comes from my man Chris of Chicago, Illinois. And reading this question, we've already talked about this in a sense, but, it's all good. Kim, what is your favorite promotional job that you have worked on? And what is your favorite promo tour that you've worked on? Because you have talked about that on and off before, and I just want to know. Yes, Chris. Well, my favorite promo job that I ever had was working the Nintendo Switch holiday promotional tours. That always happens between mid-November all the way till the end of December, going into January sometimes. And it's really fun because I get a chance to play video games, learn about the Nintendo Switch and the up-and-coming games that are happening. I get to interact with the people that come to visit the footprint, have a good time, and just, make their lives a little bit more fun and happier, knowing that they're engaging in an activity that we all love in video gaming. It's always been a blast. I always have great memories. I always take home like awesome swag, like the work shirts and jackets, and maybe like an occasional button or two. So it's always been fun, working that. It would always be over in the DC area, over at a mall called not Towson Town Center, because Baltimore never gets anything that good. Over at Tyson's Corner Mall. That's like literally like 15 to 20 minutes outside of DC. So that is my favorite promo job. In terms of just like a regular promo job, my favorite tour, I had the pleasure of working twice with my mentor, Patrick McGarvey. One was the Tazo Iced Tea tour back in the summer of 2014, where I got to travel over New York City and Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and a little bit at home in DC. It was fun because I got my foot in the door. At the time, Patrick needed to have kind of like another replacement for a tour assistant tour manager, because that tour assistant tour manager, something happened, and I don't know specifically on what, but it got him in some trouble. So it was a great foot in the door for me. And working with Patrick once again over at the Big Bite Tour, the Hyundai Big Bite Tour, where we traveled even more in great cities and places all around in the United States. And if it wasn't for him, I really wouldn't have gotten the opportunity that I did. So I really appreciate that. Question number 2 comes from Callie. Callie comes from Indianapolis, Indiana, and she actually asks, Kim, is there one dominant martial art over the other? I don't think so, Callie. I think that all martial arts have something to offer. There's one martial art that specializes in one thing, and one martial art that specializes in another. We can't really say that one is better than the other, because I believe that it's the martial artist behind the martial art that makes it effective and does the right things and is responsible for doing it in that fashion. I can tell you right now, I've seen dudes that done Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that really messed up bad and got like a unfortunate massive beating that they didn't deserve, But I've also seen people that do Muay Thai and karate that use that knowledge base so well that they win the fights. So honestly, any martial art that you engage in and study will have a great advantage. So I think it's best to really find the combination that you're willing to, embrace, so that, you can be a little bit more open-minded martial arts wise, to have a more broader skill set, so that you will be more prepared for whatever happens, whether if you're studying karate or taekwondo or Muay Thai kickboxing, or maybe something on the ground game like judo or Brazilian jiu-jitsu, or just something exotic like kung fu, kali, or salat. All of these arts have something very good to that can be of use for the art of self-defense. So always remember that. I got my man, Peter. Peter comes all the way from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And this is question number 3. Peter asks, hey, Kim, I want to know about your journey in the martial arts, about going from white belt to black belt. How would you describe it? Peter, I would definitely say that it was a great journey, starting from something from the beginning, which I didn't know, into, an expert that I am now. When you study the martial arts and you start for the first time, you're not going to get it right away. You can only go up from here. And the more times that you really study and you really practice, it gets a lot easier. And the more times that you get ranked to a higher position every single time, you start to see the growth and maturity that you're displaying, and that you're becoming. And to me, that was great. My years of going from white belt to black belt were amazing. And everything that I did, I wouldn't have changed it for the world. I wouldn't have changed the path. I wouldn't have changed the course. It would have just been exactly where it's at. And when I became first degree black belt, it was amazing. And even now to this day, being a third degree black belt, it's just an honor to be in that position, because you want to train to be at your very best, but more so you want to be very knowledgeable so that if a situation happens, you can explain what you have to do, what technique that you have to do, how the technique works and how well it works, and et cetera, et cetera. You want to be on that level. So yeah, I'm definitely really excited about it. Just the journey that I went through and the journey that I'm continuing on. It's amazing. Question number 4 comes from Maria. Maria comes from Houston, Texas. She asks, Kim, do you believe that when you exercise, that if you overdo it, that you learn a valuable lesson? Yes. This happened to a buddy of mine. He actually was lifting, and he was actually doing like weights, and I think he was pressing somewhere around like the 200 mark or something like that. Well, he was benching, and something happened where he heard something pop or tear or something like that. And sure enough, he tore his pectoral muscle. And that really sucked, all I know is from what he told me is that when he tore it, luckily there were some spotters that were there so that they could kind of grab the weights on each side and just put it back. They knew that he was in trouble because he was wincing in pain really bad, and they even heard the tear. So I believe that, from that day, my friend learned a very powerful lesson. And, I truly believe that if you're working out, and I've said this before, that if you're working out and you're feeling something and something is going wrong, and if you need to stop, just stop. Stop, relax, and regroup. It's better to be safe than sorry, and it's better to come out of there alive and unscathed rather than getting injured. So if that's anything, guys, please understand that, your safety is important. Don't be a Superman. Do the right thing, and just, exercise the right way and train the right way. That's important. All right. We also have another question. Jennifer comes all the way from Kenosha, Wisconsin. She asks, Kim, how important is it to have safety equipment when you do stunts in movies? Jennifer, it's very important. Anything that requires you to have safety equipment is a must, because you run the risk of being injured, and you might fracture a part of your body that you don't want fractured. You know what I mean? Whether if it's in sports or in stunts, that is important. I've heard too many horror stories in life where somebody was actually doing a stunt and thinking that they didn't need to have the safety equipment and that it was going to be okay. And then later on, they found out the hard way, got themselves into an accident, ended up in the hospital and getting severely injured. So guys, it's important, get those basic things, the elbow pads, the knee pads, a spine protector. If you need a helmet, use a helmet, you know what I mean? If you need wrist guards or wrist protection, use that. But get your safety equipment, spend money on the safety equipment, and invest your money in really good, solid safety equipment that will give you excellent protection. The last thing you want to do is spend money on cheap stuff that you think will help you to be protected by injury, and it doesn't. Or worse, you decide to go all macho and not get safety equipment. Do the right thing, invest in the safety equipment, don't get hurt. Again, I've seen too many things go wrong. I've heard of a lot of things go wrong, and I don't want it to go wrong for you. You know what I mean? So there you go. Question number 5 comes from Sal. Sal comes from Brooklyn, New York. Sal asks, Kim, if you had a place to go domestically for a vacation, where would you like to go? And if there was a place that you would like to go internationally, where would you like to go? Domestically, I would like to go over anywhere in Florida, like Tampa or Orlando, Las Vegas, Nevada, and anywhere in the Californias, like San Francisco, San Jose, Los Angeles. Florida, it's been a while since I've been there. I've always had a good time there. Tampa has always been awesome, but I remember being in Orlando, and it was fun. I have relatives over in the Bay Area in California, specifically San Jose. So I would always have a place to stay, and it would be great to see them. But also to see San Jose, Milpitas, Oakland, and even like San Francisco, California would be cool. My friend Davey Suicide lives in Hollywood, over in that side of LA. So I'd definitely love to see him and to see how well LA has changed, because it's been years since I've been there. So yeah, something to think about. Internationally, I would like to go over to Amsterdam, Netherlands, and I would like to go to Brazil. Brazil, because lately I've been having a lot of fan base and I've never been there. So I definitely would like to go and visit it, like Rio de Janeiro or Sao Paulo, or even in Florianopolis in the Santa Catarina section. Or, maybe I want to go somewhere else, like Curitiba, Belém, a lot of those places. Anywhere in Brazil, I would love to go. I also would love to go back over to Amsterdam, because I visited my friend Chrissy, and it was fun. Being there for 2 weeks was great, but I felt like if I had more time, I would have enjoyed it a lot more, and I would go back for another 2 weeks if it would be possible. So there you go. Question number 6. This comes from Troy of Annapolis, Maryland. My hometown, man. All right. Troy asks, Kim, if there is one thing that you regret, what is it that you actually regret? Troy, I think that I don't really have too many regrets, man, because, in my life, I've always had a lot more happiness, and I've always enjoyed my opportunities, no matter what I did. And I think it's amazing that, that I had these opportunities, and it just turned out to be a very good situation. I hardly had a regret in life. And if I did, I think one regret that I have is not so much of a job, but more the fact that I wish that my mom was still alive to see how well I was doing in life, and how I wish that my friend, the late Jonathan Henderson, would still be with us, because I think that he would enjoy seeing the success that I've been building. You know what I mean? So I think that would be, if I had regrets, that would be the only regrets, is that those two were not present to see it. Question number 7, and the final question of the day. This one comes from Karen. And no, we're not talking about that type of Karen. We're talking about Karen. Karen comes from Kansas City, Missouri. And she asks, Kim, do you like to go on script, or do you like to go off the script when it comes to your podcasting? And that's a good question. I think I like to do a little bit of both, Karen. I like to do A and B, because, A, I like following the script because it kind of guarantees that, I won't miss a beat on anything. And as long as if I have that as a point of reference, I think I'll be okay. I do like going impromptu and off the script and improvising stuff, because it just makes things a little bit more exciting. Now, I will say this. There have been times that I've been successful in doing all of that. And there have been times where people of the audience have caught me make a mistake. Which all that is okay. At the end of the day, as long as you're having fun, that's all that matters. You know what I mean? That's the most important thing, is to have fun, do your thing, and just be happy with it. And that being said, we are done. This is it. It's been awesome. Real quick, you can follow me on Facebook. Just go into the search box and put in the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. You can follow me and it'll be great. I'm on 2 social media platforms, Twitter, known as X, and on Instagram. You can follow me both at TKHPC Experience, all in one word, lowercase letters. You follow me and I'll follow you back. Now, we are on a lot of podcasting platforms, and it is crazy. Now, we are on the following. The platforms that we are on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts. We are on Amazon Music. We are on YouTube Music. And the newest podcasting platform that we have developed a partnership, which is a podcasting and an online book app called Audible. It is a service that you can get through Amazon. Now, I'm not sure what the price is, so you might want to go on, Google Chrome or whatever you do the internet search, type Audible and see what the rates are. Do me a favor, like and subscribe my podcast on all of those podcasting platforms. Now, if you have Spotify, please give us a 5-star ranking. If you have Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star ranking and give us a good written review. Because the more times that you actually do that, then the more times we will be at the front of the class on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. That way, you can actually see that when it's on the front of the class, some guy like Joe could say, hey, this is that podcast that I was told about, the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. I should give it a shot. My answer to you is yes, give it a shot. Like and subscribe to it, and do me a favor. Also tell your friends. Let them know in person or tell them through social media, because we have a lot of them, Facebook, we have Twitter, known as X, we have Snapchat, we have Instagram, we have all that stuff. The power of technology is amazing. And sharing is caring, guys. That's the most important thing I can tell you. Last but not least, if you want to be a special guest host, if you have any constructive criticism or if you have any questions for our Q&A, email us at the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience at gmail.com. Whatever the subject is, write it on the subject matter, and on the body of the email, write your question and I will answer it. I will read it. I will answer it. I will give you a response within 24 hours because I like that type of correspondence. We are out of time. I do want to thank everybody for listening. It's been real. You know what I mean? Please be safe out there because we don't like the idea of you actually being in a situation where you put yourself in danger and you get buried in a pine box 6 feet under. We don't want that to happen because we want you to be healthy. We want you to be happy. We want you to be living life because you deserve happiness. You deserve all the great things in life. And it just means that, we want you to have your purpose. And it matters to me. It matters that you're healthy. It matters that you're happy. And that's all I got to say. So that being said, for the one time, not in the Asian Sensation Studios, but in the Washington DC Metropolitan Area, getting my exercise on. This is your boy Kim Hoang, the Asian Sensation, saying thank you very much for your time. I do appreciate it. We will do this again real soon. God bless you all, and have a good one, guys. It's been real. Peace.